This Shabbat is known as Shabbat Shira, the Sabbath of Song. That's because in this week's Parshat BeShallach, Moses sings the Song of the Sea, Shirat Hayam, after the children of Israel crossed the parted waters of the Red Sea to safety on the other side. Throughout our history, we have learned there is a time for prayer and there is a time for action. With that in mind, take a look at something that is absolutely intriguing in this week's Parsha. It happens in chapter 14, verse 13. Here's the scene. The Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, are frightened. They have just left slavery in Egypt. They're assembled right by the shores of the Red Sea, and now they hear that Pharaoh is coming after them with the entire Egyptian army. Warriors, chariots, horses, you can imagine. Bnei Israel are frightened beyond belief. In verse 13, Moses actually says to the people, Al tira'u, do not fear. Ura'u et Yeshuat Hashem, and see in real time your salvation from God. He completes this verse with these words, Hityatzvu, stand firm and see for yourselves the salvation of God, which he will perform for you today. For as you see Egypt today, you shall not see them like this ever again. The passage now continues, and God says to Moses openly, why do you cry out to me? Ma titzak elai, daber b'nei Israel v'yisa'u. Speak to the children of Israel and let them journey forward. Did you catch that? Let them journey forward. These words have always instilled in me a sense of wonderment. There is a time for prayer, but God is saying this is the one time not to pray to him, but for action. Journey forward. With the waters of the Red Sea ahead of you and the Egyptian army behind you, a person without emunah, faith, could predict a terrible outcome for the children of Israel. But remember, Bnei Israel were taken out from Egypt by God. They were led to the Red Sea by God and were promised the land of Israel by God. My friends, we are living once again in a dangerous time for Jewish people. Hate, ignorance, and anti-Semitism have plagued even the most civilized of first world countries. History is repeating itself. Our grandparents all witnessed this before, and not so long ago. Every year we read at our Passover Seder tables that in every generation our enemies have risen up to try and destroy us. What is this fundamental hate to Jewish people, and why has there been nobody to educate and fight this scourge of the world? In biblical times, the Jewish people had the greatest of leaders, Moses, Joshua, Devorah, King David, and our prophets, and many more. Great leaders come at a most opportune time throughout history. It is therefore important to note that this past week, the world has lost a truly magnificent leader right here in Toronto, Canada. Michael Mostyn, of blessed memory, was the epitome of a leader who never backed down from the truth. This was a man of immense knowledge and passion, integrity and strength. As head of B'nai B'rith, he challenged and exposed all who hated Jews and showed them for what they are. I think the most important lesson that Michael taught us by his example is that it's simply not enough to be a follower. It has now become imperative for each and every one of us in every city where we live around the world to not fear, to stand up and to shout out all the hypocrisy, lies and distortion of truth wherever and whenever we see it. A true tribute to Michael Mostyn can be nothing less. He showed us that this is our sacred duty. I also wish to note the sudden and tragic passing this week of a wonderful, vibrant community leader who championed so many causes, Maddie Bodenstein, of blessed memory. Whether it was to help raise funds and awareness or to help the city of Toronto and beyond become a better place for everybody, Maddie had a tireless work ethic and an abundance of energy that was truly inspiring. She will be so missed. And finally, in the cantorial world, we note with sadness the passing this week of Cantor Chazzan ben Sion Miller, Zichrono Livracha, of blessed memory, who was one of the world's great classical Chazzanim. At one time in our lives, he and I were extremely close friends. Whenever he came to London, England, he would always stay at either with me or at my parents' home. Thankfully, his voice, his attention to preserving the ancient art of authentic Chazanut in its classical form, is recorded for future generations, so as not to forget the incredible musical heritage of our people. A man who lived for song and his prayer left us just before this Shabbat of Song. Each of these three great individuals left an indelible mark on the world they leave behind, a world still in need of action to repair it. As we begin Shabbat Shira, let us remember the message of empowerment and find inspiration in this Parsha. We must remember to not fear and to take action. Let us journey forward together. Shabbat Shalom.
Join us tomorrow for Shabbat Shira, the Song Shul's Broadway Shabbat service and the most popular service of the year, featuring Cantor, Spiro, and the amazing Toronto Festival Singers. Kiddush is generously sponsored by David and Felicia Poslins in honor of the birth of their 2 new grandchildren, Zev Nathaniel, Zev Netanel ben Shalom Eliyahu ve'Adira, and Charlotte Diana, Shira Dina bat Shalom Eliyahu ve'Adira, as well as in honor of Felicia Poslins on her birthday and for reading the Torah. Thanks, David and Felicia. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We hope to see you tomorrow.